Apps can do a lot of cool things. You could order dinner, gamble on your favorite team, and track your health. You could even get a mortgage. One click and you can be approved. I'm not sure by who or what country they're in. You deserve more from the mortgage industry. At AnyMac Home Mortgage, we believe in the need for live human interaction during a very complex process. The kind of service and guidance which an app simply can't provide. Our customers are more than credit scores and income documents. They're individuals and families who live in and strengthen our communities. Their story is our story, and that story begins in a home. Chris Sawyer is an expert on providing superior customer service and in meeting the mortgage needs of current and future homebuyers. With over 18 years of experience in the industry, Chris is able to help customers migrate through the home buying and home financing process by using his wealth of knowledge as a well-qualified mortgage professional. And best of all, Chris is located in Cromwell, Connecticut, where he has helped hundreds of clients in Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island make their dreams of homeownership a reality. Visit chrissawyer.any-mac.com. Email him at csawyer@any-mac.com or give him a call, 860-878-8730.
Chris Sawyer, NML.
Jimmy, you're muted, buddy. I don't know what you did over there. Your presentation is excellent. You have not stuck the landing, unfortunately. Welcome, everybody, to Divided We Stand. I'm Joe Aguirre. He is Jimmy Battisti. And as you can see, rehearsal went better than this is actually going in real life, which is very unfortunate. Jimmy is having some sort of technical difficulty. This was going to be where he does his start of the show rhyme. It's very good, and we were going to have this slideshow presentation along with it. And yeah, for some reason, still can't figure it out. What do you think it is? It says that you muted yourself. Does that feel like something you may have done? And if so, I guess I would be curious as to why you did that. But anyway, we do have a lot of stuff here to talk about today. Obviously, this war in Ukraine been going on for now, moving into the third week, day 15. And for obviously a lot of Americans, there's a lot of things to be a little bit upset about. We're gonna talk through some of those issues. Some of them are true, some of them aren't. And one of the things Jimmy and I like to do is sort through the details, figure out what is fact and what is fiction. And so you could expect very much that that's going to happen tonight. Big shout out to Sandra Arroyo Sanchez. Thank you for tuning in, my friend. Always great to have you listening. We're very excited for tonight's show. We have, like I said, some really in-depth analysis that we're going to break down here. And there he is, Jimmy Battisti, everybody.
America. Hello,
hey,
everyone.
Baby.
I'm sorry. That was weird. I'm not going to lie to you. That was kind of weird.
That's technically, I might have been one of them Russian hacks.
I'm telling you what, they heard about the show. They heard that I'm going to say some bad stuff about them, and they're trying to shut me down. Damn it!
Do you want to do your thing? You want to do your
Did the video play at all while I
Well,
was?
the video played all the way through, and I narrated it a little bit. No, I'm kidding. It did play all the way through. I was hoping at some point you were going to break through, but it didn't happen. So we could do it again. I'm sure people wouldn't mind.
It kind of loses something when they don't open up with it, don't you think?
Yeah. No, come on. The people want it, don't they? They do. In the all the messages, yes. Everyone's saying yes. We want Jimmy to do it.
Okay, let's do it.
All right, here we go.
You want to play it again or no?
You want to? What do you want to take it all the way from the top?
No. That's all right. Here we go.
All right.
Ready?
Do your thing. Right. Here we go.
Day 15 of the war, and there is no end in sight. We worry about gas prices as the Ukrainians fight. Civilians are dying, and the Russian army is soft. If it wasn't for numbers, they would have already lost. What we see on TV is war crimes happening now. How much more of this will the world allow? Women and children are dead by rockets through the air. Putin is truly an evil man that just doesn't care. There is no American to blame for this tragedy. What we need now is a winning strategy. Sanctions will work, but they may take a while. For this crime, there should be absolutely no trial. All I would need is one rifle and one shot. Then we could all sit back and smoke some pot. Yes. The Russian army is sloppy, uncoordinated, and weak. Their spirits are breaking and their leadership meek. They are running out of supplies and morale is low. Putin is overreaching and his economy will show. The entirety of his nation is bankrupt and worth not a cent. This war and its cost, Putin may lament. There you go.
That was beautiful. Thank you for that. And for the presentation. It seems the audience likes they like when we do that. Put a little something together.
I like it. Try to be a little creative. So, but tonight I really want to hit on a couple things. First and foremost, I want to thank Joe Biden for stop funding Putin's war after 14 days of buying oil. So thank you, Joe Biden, for finally stopping that. So that was the first thing. And in conjunction with that, where are we going to get that oil next? Right? Are we going to get it from a country that is just born to hate us and want to kill us, i.e. Iran? Or are we going to get it from Venezuela, where the human rights violations just keep piling up every day? So, I mean, where do we get this oil from? Like, what is the solution, and what should the government be talking about? So that's topic number one that I really want to hit on about the war. And topic number two is this, and this is a tough one. Right? This is a very, very tough one. The United States is sending billions and billions of dollars of aid and military equipment, i.e. Stingers, Javelins, etc. Doesn't that already suggest that we're already a part of this? And what is the difference between sending those weapons vice a jet? What's the difference? I don't see a difference in that. We're sending them weapons to shoot down their jets. Mm-hmm. That's no different than sending them a jet, in my opinion. So where is that line, right? And more importantly, why are we kowtowing to Putin instead of putting pressure on him?
You and I were talking on the phone earlier today, and first let me just point something out. Your somewhat sarcastic praise of Joe Biden to a finally. I mean, there was obviously a lot that went into that, and a lot had to be worked out. I mean, everybody's known for 15 days that had to happen, and it's a matter of, and this is the problem I think that we're sort of facing is you don't know what Vladimir Putin is going to consider a provocation. You have no idea what he might take the wrong way, but you're right. I mean, we're supplying them with weapons. You nailed it earlier today. I couldn't come up with the right word, but it's a proxy war. And since 1945, there's been a lot of these, whether it be Korea, whether it be Vietnam, whether it be an Iraq-Iran war, whether it be in Saudi Arabia, whether it be in Afghanistan. These have all generally been
proxy wars.
Right. It's a U.S. funded side against a Soviet and or Russian side, and it's been that way since the United Nations got started in 1945, and with very good reason. Do you want to tell everybody why the United States and Russia are the world superpowers?
We have the most nukes.
How do you get the most nukes, though?
We had the strongest economy. We had the innovation. We had the workforce. We had the ability to make these massive destructive weapons that, should never have been made. And that's it.
So this is a good question from Kimberly Chapman. Wake Up with Casey, another great CMG podcast. I'm going to do a bit a little bit later on, and I really want people to pay attention to it because you may have heard some things about pipelines being shut down, or the fact that we're importing so much oil per day, and a lot of the information I think people have been seeing is false. And so I went on through here, and I have, at least I feel like I have, attempted to pinpoint some of the concerns that people have had and do have, because I think it's important. And I think the number one reason why it's so important is, and I've been saying this since you jumped on the show with us a couple months ago. And I totally forgot what I was going to say because Kimberly just Fair Trade Act. There's no such thing as a Fair Trade Act. Let's be honest here. There really isn't. There is. Again, I'm going to explain why we're the superpowers we are and how we're in the predicament that we're in. Okay, and what we're supposed to do about it. Because again, if you were to hear certain media, and there was even a Fox News reporter that was basically trying to get Jen Psaki to say that she wants everyone to get electric cars. Like that's going to end the war in Ukraine. Again, I mean, an absurd thought, and I've seen memes and I've seen other suggestions from Republican politicians that this is all, that this is all part of the Democrats' plan to get us into electric vehicles and to slowly turn our again, to go green and to load up on those resources. And you and I we want to see that a little bit. We think that's a good thing. It shouldn't be looked on as a bad thing. But again, that's not going to solve our problems now. It's not going to solve our problem 6 months to a year from now. So we do have serious issues. The gas prices are obviously, they're out of control. And this is upsetting because for all that they're doing, Jimmy, right? And you see the price at the gas pump and you're like, yeah, I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to pay a little bit more, right? Most people seem like they're okay with it. But yet every day we're seeing more and more Ukrainians killed. We saw a hospital destroyed. And this has been, the Russians are, I heard a Russia U.S. expert speaking the other day, and he said, around the world, Ukraine is winning the information war. In Russia, Putin's winning it.
That's it. Yeah.
And that's really all that matters. Yeah. It's exactly right. And so while everybody wants to stand with Ukraine, that standing with Ukraine is tantamount to sending thoughts and prayers after a school shooting. It doesn't help the situation literally at all.
Yeah. So here's my question here. What should we do about it? And when And when are all these atrocities, these human rights violations, when is it enough? How many more children need to die before somebody says, all right, screw it. That's it. We're done. Like, and there's only really one country that always does that, Joe.
Right.
And you're looking at it. You know, I mean, much now we're not even sending them what they ask and what they need, what we can.
Right.
Is Joe Biden really going to be the guy that says, that's it? In your opinion, do you think that?
Listen, if he wanted to do that, he would have done it already.
Your hesitation is definite.
No, of course. I mean, if he wanted to, listen, this guy is going out of his way because, and you can't ignore this. You're in an election year. You're in a midterm election year. So if I'm at the DNC right now, okay,
nothing
if I'm
brings
in there,
Americans together like war.
Bro, but listen, here's the thing, though, dude. These guys know that they're in trouble. You know, look, we just got out of 2 really long wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. People don't really want to go to war again. That's in the back of everybody's mind. The potential for this to turn into World War III is on everybody's mind.
It's high, too. The potential is very high.
Now, I have the feeling that, and we talked about this, that the convoy sitting 17 miles outside of Kyiv, they're there for one of 3 reasons, as you and I came up with today. Either number one, they are strategically in place to roll in as soon as the major bombing of Kyiv starts. But as you pointed out earlier today, you wouldn't have stuck them out 15 days out we still don't know when the big offensive's coming. So those guys are not in a good place.
Nope.
The second option we discussed is the fact that they may be somewhat immobilized, either ran out of fuel. We've seen large convoys before abandon and just run off into the woods. So it could be that.
Trucks are breaking down.
Right.
All over the place.
And being towed by Ukrainians with tractors, which is, again, they're so polite, these people. They're like Canadians with like attitude. You know what I mean? They're good people, but they will snap your neck off if they have to. The third thing is that those tanks and a lot of this action that's happening, and I realize people have died, and so I don't want to dig into it, but I think he's kind of bluffing here. It's like, how much is he willing to do? He hasn't. I mean, he could have blown this thing to bits days ago.
You know, I agree with it. I really do. I mean, the death toll right now really could be a lot more than it is, right? A lot more.
It's way too high beyond 1. Yes, I think you'll agree. But in respect to what we were expecting, what the experts told us where we'd be at now, very low.
Yeah, it confuses even me, and I think I know what I'm talking about a little bit militarily, but it confuses me very much so why that 40-mile convoy is stuck there, because sheer numbers would dictate that they could just roll in and take Kyiv. Sheer numbers,
right?
But they're not, right? I don't know. So I don't know what Putin's waiting for. Is he waiting for a provocation? Is he doing this so we get into it? That's what I'm really kind of afraid of now.
We didn't talk about this earlier.
No,
today.
I didn't.
We did not. The fourth option. Yeah, I mean, listen, right?
He's bombing. He's bombing hospitals. He's bombing women's hospitals while women are giving freaking birth. He's bombing schools. He's bombing churches. He's bombing where children are. But yet he can't roll in and take. He should have been able to by now, right? He should have. Is he waiting for an excuse to just start launching nukes now? You know what I'm saying? Is he just giving little pricks until the bear just says, you know what, that's it?
I'm only going to bring this guy up because some of his generals have talked about it since, and it's in some books that we're going to be reading this October. But the generals who worked under Trump have been very clear that if given the order to do something they weren't going to do it. And I know that's a big deal in the military, and the fact you're even talking about that is mind-blowing. You can just tell when Putin's had his cabinet and his advisors on, and they're not really advisors, they're lapdogs.
They're puppets.
You could see that nobody's that into this thing other than him. And so I do think that we've got that going for us, that the possibility of somebody stopping him if this thing gets to where he's looking to push a button or he's looking for his.
I honestly think this will really, really end if somebody takes, and somebody might. It's almost to the point where somebody from inside the Kremlin may just take him out.
There's got to be somebody that wants to be famous, right?
Oh my God. That guy wouldn't be the most famous person in the world.
Listen, your grandkids will know that guy's name.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Everybody's grandkids. Yeah.
That's what I meant. I didn't mean just yours, all of ours. Yeah.
No, I mean,
whoever that person might
grandkids, absolutely.
Well, so this is the funny thing. And again, and this is why I think, and you and I probably just aren't going to argue a ton on tonight's show, but I heard people like Lindsey Graham talking about, assassination. And there were some people that were like, yeah, we can't. Oh, shut up. We can't do that. Yes, we can. It's on the record books that we don't do it. We do. We've done it before and we'll do it again. Now's the time where somebody really should do it.
I'm telling you, I will take that responsibility and run with it, my friends. I will do it. Make sure my family's taken care of monetarily, and I will help. I will gladly volunteer. I mean, it's not really volunteer if I'm getting paid for it.
Yeah.
But I will gladly do it. Absolutely. Absolutely. 100%. So what I think we're really going to argue about is this, Joe. When did the gas prices start really going up? Because it wasn't 14 days ago.
No, it wasn't. It was
well before that.
Oh, yeah. That is true.
Right. So why is Jen Psaki going on there right now saying it's because of Russia? It's because of this war. It's because of this war. Right. And I don't understand why they just can't come out and say, hey, look, gas prices are going up because X, Y, and Z. We're working on a situation or working on a solution. We'll let you know. But no, why can't they just come out and say what everybody knows? It's not a secret. It's not like gas prices literally went up 2 weeks ago to the day. It was months. The entire country's been complaining about gas prices. Months. So to blame the Ukrainian war or blame the war in Ukraine is asinine, in my opinion, for the White House press secretary to do. Like, is my memory 2 weeks long? Shut the hell up, dude.
We literally did, though, have the largest 1 week increase ever. From last week to this week. So again, you're not wrong to say that the prices have gone up, and they've gone up for a variety of reasons, including the supply chain problem. I mean, that any sort of transportation, disruption is going to literally affect every single industry. Because again, for everyone that loves capitalism so much, supply and demand. It's there's a reason why they charge you more for gas in the summertime than in the wintertime. That is a factor. It might not be the most important factor, but it's one of many, 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 many factors, right? We've also talked about this. Over the last couple of years, Saudi Arabia and Iran were in a pretty they're enemies, those two countries, and they were in a pretty serious.
That was going to be my next question, by the way.
Why
aren't we buying it from Saudi Arabia?
Because our pretend friends, I'm all set with them. They're
okay. Let's give it to Iran. That makes more sense.
I don't know that. Listen. I would argue that Iran is no better or worse than Saudi Arabia, as far as the human rights violations Again, I would rather you tell me you hate me than pretend that you're my friend and then finance 19 hijackers to crash into the World Trade Center. I mean, I'm not afraid to say that that's what happened, because it is.
Wait, I'm sorry. Can you say that again?
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, and shame on George Bush, who I was always a big fan of, but allowing the Bin Laden families that were here in the United States to leave on private planes after 9/11 when everybody else was grounded was a terrible thing to do. Terrible thing to do. But again, I'm not here to indict anybody else. My point is listen, there's a lot of reasons why we're in the situation we're in, right? Again, it's not fair to blame one person, but this is all on Joe Biden's watch. I think it was Ted Cruz I was listening to earlier today was talking about the fact that withdrawal in Afghanistan could not have invited.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
We're
you know what? I
weak
didn't.
and incompetent.
I
We
didn't
can't even
wanna bring it
withdraw right.
because
But
I
it's
thought that
true.
was low hanging.
It's true. But it's
But,
true. It was. Listen, I've always blamed Bill Clinton for 9/11. The way we tuck tail in Mogadishu, the coal bombing,
the Yemen,
the two, right? I mean, there was it kept happening, and he kept
nothing.
running. I read a
Nothing.
book in 1999 where Osama bin Laden called us the paper tiger.
Yeah.
He said every time the United States is faced with a tough conflict, they tuck tail and they run. And that's what gave them the audacity to pull off 9/11. It fell on W's watch. That was 100% because of Bill Clinton. And it's unfortunate, but in many ways, I don't know if you know this too, but Joe Biden made phone calls to Saudi Arabia, and to some of the other OPEC countries.
Yeah.
Nobody took his call.
Nobody.
They're firmly on the side of Russia on this. They're trying to they're Jimmy Cartering this guy. They're doing what they do to weak Democrats.
Yep. 100%. I was going to.
And again, I wish you would listen. I'm going to call a spade. I like Joe Biden, dude, but he's backed himself into this corner, and unfortunately, and I hate to say this, I do think we have to start preparing ourselves for this. But like you said a little while ago, Jimmy, how many more Ukrainians are we going to watch die?
I don't know.
Before we have to, with NATO and an alliance, we're going to have to impose a no-fly zone over Ukraine, which is also going to mean that we are going to have to shoot down Russian jets. And that's not going to, and we're already doing it because Ukraine's using our systems and our weapons to do it.
I know.
They basically at this point just need an American to be the guy pressing the button before it's like, it's on.
Yeah.
So
I don't get it. I
don't
really
know, man.
Don't. And that's why so here's the thing. Like Putin says, oh, I'm going to do this and we'll do it. Okay. We'll do this. Like, why are we acquiescing to his demands? Why are we not trying to say, look you have 24 friggin' hours to pull at least half your forces out before I cut off all your supply lines, period. I will cut off every friggin' supply line going into that country. And we can, trust me, period. Why are we acquiescing? Why is Joe Biden
I don't know. Again,
I
would say, if I were Joe Biden, I would say, I'm setting up a no-fly zone over Ukraine. I dare you.
Something like that is going to have to happen for this to come to an end. It really is. The more and more this goes on, the less scared I am of a nuclear threat. All right. Number one, he's showing that he's incompetent. He's showing that he doesn't, like, his army is not good. I can say this on a military standpoint that it's not good. Like, they're not doing. One platoon that I've worked with could probably do the same job. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's ridiculous how bad they're just. I'm not worried about the nuclear threat.
Listen,
I'm not anymore.
Right. I just feel like more Ukrainians are going to die. We're gonna, there's going to be some sort of operation where some American soldiers get killed before we officially get in. Or like, why? Let's just bypass all that. Let's not have any more Ukrainians die. And listen, on the other side too, I'll just say, look, there's a lot of Russian troops that don't want to be there, and to those guys, and I feel terrible.
Yeah,
some of them have just fled. They've just literally fled into the forest of Ukraine rather than fight. But the ones that are fighting that don't want to be there, you're kind of caught between a rock and a hard place, aren't you? It's either to the gulag or you got to kill Ukrainians, and neither is an option. You really want to. You really want. Yeah. I mean, it's terrible. So it's such a terrible situation to be in. But I do think the likelihood of a direct conflict, it's so there that Joe Biden's going to have to call this dude's bluff with the understanding that if he's not bluffing, it's on like Donkey Kong, and we're going to have to drop some missiles onto Moscow. I don't see any other way.
But let's just say that we do. Who's there to fight us? Nobody. Everybody's in freaking Ukraine.
Oh, it's funny. It's funny you say that because a couple days after the invasion, I said to my brother, dude, he's got like 180,000 troops in Ukraine. How big is their army? Who's in Moscow? Who's in St. Petersburg on guard right now? I would take my chances with whoever that is.
Yeah,
because if they're as experienced as the clowns that are going to Ukraine, I think we got a pretty good chance. I mean, I get the sense that if they knew we were coming, that most of them would just abandon ship. It's not worth dying for.
Yeah.
And that's where I think, I think Vladimir Putin has grossly overestimated the nostalgia and feeling that Russians have for the Soviet Union and the Soviet Empire. I think he's got no pulse on his people, not realizing that they're so much more hip, and they get on the internet. They know what's going on out there. You can block it all you want, but they know. And like your BS can take you so far. It's at the point where, again, I mean, you see the idea that he's got this war going on. There's been mass protests across Russia.
Insane.
That is unheard of.
Insane.
Unheard of that would even happen. So again, it tells you a couple things. Number one, it tells you democracy and freedom is really a thing that everybody can get behind. And that people everywhere are willing to die for freedom. And we should remember that because again, Jimmy, one of the conversations we had, and again, I would say this to any liberal. I like AOC. I don't have a problem with the squad. I don't see them as being anti-American. I don't. Some of the things they say and do are a little, not well worded, but those people don't hate America. They don't hate America at all. But they also they want to hold America's sins against it all the time forever. And you can't live that way.
That's a fair way to put it.
Right.
That's a fair way to put it. Okay.
If you cheated on your spouse and she took you back, but she doesn't trust you at all, what do you have? You don't really have a marriage anymore. It was broken when that happened. And you just go your separate way.
So you said this to me earlier that you don't mind them, that you like them, that you don't think they hate America.
They don't give enough credit for the amazing. Again, if for people who have never been to Europe, especially Democrats and liberals, they're like so great in Europe. It's like if you've never been to Europe, they're super racist. They're super racist. Go to any soccer match anywhere in Europe. I promise you, if they're playing an African team or a European team that happens to have a black person on it, they will throw bananas at that person.
They're extremely racist.
That's how blatantly, outwardly racist they are in Europe.
But yet,
there was apartheid literally in South Africa for decades.
You have these freaking 6, 7 idiots that somehow, I don't know, somehow is now in the United States Congress, got elected to the United States Congress, saying that everybody in this country is guilty for something. Everybody in this country owes somebody for something. Everybody in this country is an oppressor. I mean, they literally changed the definition of the word racism. Like, how do you do that? Like, how the frig do you do that?
Well, you're sort of I feel like you were sort of conflating the squad with the word racism being changed, and you're like, how did they do that? I mean, Webster's dictionary did it. It wasn't like the squad did it, or liberals, or the liberal agenda. Like, listen, this is something else you and I talked about earlier, right? Just trying to soften the tone with people. You keep saying, that you respect transgender people. You would refer to them by their pronouns. In your mind, you don't biologically believe that person's that sex, and you're right. Biologically, they're not, because the chromosomes wouldn't match the carpet.
Yeah, nice.
Thank you. But you do it, and you always say, you're like, does that make me a bad person? No, thinking it doesn't make you a bad person. Speaking it to their face makes you a bad person. And for the most part, that seems to be what transgender people, they just don't want you to make them feel unsafe or like that there's something wrong with them. So just, again, words
so
are
here's
important.
My next question.
Words are important. That's all I'm trying to say. And we just got to be, and no one's trying to, because listen, there's a fine line. I watched a great bit from George Carlin, obviously, who's passed many years now, but George Carlin said, I agree with so much about feminism. I love women. I think strong women, and you've said this yourself, the key to society. Having strong women.
Yeah.
But when you start trying to tell me what words I can say or how, like, you start to lose me. And I'm telling you, and I've been saying this since this show started. I kind of stopped being a Republican. I joined the Democratic Party for a day, and I was out literally by later that same afternoon. Because I feel like they're a well-intentioned group. The words that come out of their mouth always make whatever they're talking about sound absolutely lunatic. You're like, what?
Yeah.
Also their fascination with issues that affect like a handful of people. Stop.
Thank you.
Stop.
What the hell,
man?
Is
you can't solve every last person's problem. And again, the thing that here's how people take a lot of that is you're trying to tell people what to do, what to say, and people are just going to naturally reject that. Even when like I said,
I'm not worried about. I mean, I honestly don't know if they're going to be there after November, or how many of them are going to be left. I mean, seriously, I don't know if they're going to be sticking around too much longer. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm not. Or I hope I hope I'm not wrong. I hope they go away.
What do you think of this statement? I'd like you to address this statement. We've always gone overseas for war to keep it from coming here. You don't think that. You and I actually had a conversation about that, and I surprised you because I'm not stupid. I see what you guys are seeing too. When we talk about the shadow government, Jamie, we're not talking about a deep state. We're talking about the what military minds that are figuring, sure, but they're I like I said, this is what I'll tell you, pick it up from here. But when we were in Afghanistan and Iraq, and we got a base, in Europe, right? And you could see as you looked at a map, if you've ever looked at a map, people, you would have totally seen this. We basically had Iran surrounded. That's what was happening. We had, how close are those bases? One of the biggest bases in the world. Take it from there, Jimmy, and let people know. Sometimes these interventions that we do to countries, it has nothing to do with the people. As nice as that would be, it's got nothing to do with the people, the Sunnis and the
I will say
this.
I will say this. The good that we did in Iraq, right, was very real. All right. And it was a byproduct. And I'll say that honestly, I think it was It was just a byproduct of why we were there, right? The Army needed something to do, so they built 9,000 school buildings that were never there, and now hundreds and thousands of children can actually read that were never allowed to read at all, namely women, right? Gay people now and transgender people now are less scared that they're going to die, because before they were getting tossed off buildings if you were gay. They didn't. So this country, trust me, isn't that bad comparatively. Now, why do we go overseas to stop? And Kimberly is partially right, right? We do go overseas and we fight over there to stop it from coming here, right? But that's only a microcosm of it. So Iraq was pretty much one of the last pieces of the puzzle. Now we have strongholds. We have military bases. We have military fighting war powers in every region of the world. We can reach out and kill whoever we want within a matter of hours now, instead of days. We have logistically positioned ourselves. If we really, really wanted to, we could just launch an attack and take over the world. We really could, because we're just so strategically placed. And Iraq was, and you know what? There's also this reason, and I give this analogy out to everybody that I talk to about why we went to Iraq. Terrorists, I'm going to equate to drug dealers. If you were a drug dealer and you were selling crack out of your house, and the DEA moved into your freaking garage or your backyard, you'd stop freaking selling crack out of your house pretty quickly. Well, we're the DEA, so now we're in the backyard of the terrorists. So now, do you see what I'm saying? So now we're strategically placed. We can, oh, look, we think there's a terrorist cell. Okay, send out a couple helicopters instead of bombers. Just a quick helicopter ride, boop, 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 and people are dead. So we are now strategically placed. And it wasn't for oil. And if anybody keeps saying Iraq was for oil, okay, you need to stop.
Right, where's the oil? How come we didn't get any of the oil?
We haven't got a drop.
We literally fought. I mean, we did the Saudi Arabia war in 91. We spent 20 years there, and like from 03 on. If it was about oil, we'd be paying 30 cents a gallon. So stop it, people. Idiots.
Yeah, it's funny. But yes, I mean, we have one of the largest airports in the world under our control in the Middle East. The airport is so large. It's one of like a dozen airports that can land a space shuttle. I don't even know. There's a very few runways that are big enough to land the space shuttle. The one in Iraq is. I know, I lived there. I literally lived on that runway. So it's a huge, huge benefit strategically, militarily for us to be there. And that's all it was. It's a chess game. It's not checkers. It's chess. We have strategically moved our pieces around the entire world. The entire world. Now, I don't see a bad point in that, except we are strategically placed around the entire world. We can help militarily, and yet Joe Biden won't do it. How many more freaking children are going to friggin' die? And, do you think that if they start using the chemical warfare like their intelligence has been picking up, is that going to be the red line? Is that going to be the line in the sand? And
I mean, Dave, I told you last week they've been using thermal.
Yep.
What is it? Thermobatric or whatever
thermal
it is.
Biometric.
Thermal. That's devastating. It's a devastating weapon of war and a war crime. And again, last week I heard something about they were going to take this in front of the world court. And it's like, oh, I'm sure Putin's like shaking in his boots. Someone's got to really do something about this guy. And this is pissing me off, quite frankly.
I honestly think we're going to have to Osama bin Laden him. We're going to have to send the SEALs in overnight and just go, okay, that's it. Game over.
Where's the Mossad when you need them? They're usually pretty good at that kind of thing.
I'm telling you, man, you know what? I got some boys in friggin' Missouri. It's all I need like 6 of them and we'll be good to go. You just drop us off in the middle of Russia. We'll find our way. Don't worry. Oh man. And these boys in Missouri will not hesitate to go.
Oh, I'm sure. Some people are just cut out for that line of work, and I respect that a lot. I do.
Hey, are you ready to take your break? We need to take a break, and then you get to hit it when we come back, right?
I sure will.
All right, buddy.
Do you have a 401k and some savings for future retirement, but don't even know if it's enough to live off of? How much is enough? How often are you thinking about it? The team at JPEX Financial Group can help set your mind at ease. We specialize in creating strategies in the planning and managing of your financial, educational, and investment needs. We help clients pursue their investment goals with sound financial strategies. You deserve a personal, tailored plan. Lasting, meaningful, and open relationships are the foundation of our practice. You've worked hard for your money and should feel confident in your investment choices as you make decisions for your financial future. Your goals are our goals. We are dedicated to your needs and hopes for your future. Visit our website and give us a call at 860-430-5397. Securities offered through Raymond James Financial Services, Inc., member FINRA, SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Raymond James Financial Services Advisors, Inc. JPEX Financial Group, LLC is not a registered broker-dealer and is independent of Raymond James Financial Services. JPEX Financial Group is located at 78 Eastern Boulevard, Glastonbury, Connecticut.
Last week, across America and on this show, we talked about the State of the Union address. And across the aisle, we agreed that paying a little more at the pump in light of what was happening in Ukraine was totally worth it. But then we got hit with the highest spike in history. And all over social media, people have been complaining and even taking pictures of the price at the pump. It's frustrating for all of us. If you fondly remember the gas prices at the end of the Trump administration, let me remind you, unemployment was still very high and people were working from home because we were living through a pandemic. People weren't really going out. Supply and demand, name of the game there. Now, part of this rise in gas prices is the fact that, well, COVID restrictions, thankfully, are easing around the country, and we're attempting to get back to normal. Of course, being on the verge of World War III is the main reason for this. But real people in Ukraine are dying. This is one of the worst human crises we've ever lived through, and it seems like there may be more in the foreseeable future. There's been warnings of cyber attacks, more invasions of the Eastern Bloc, and President Zelensky's asked for a no-fly zone over Ukraine. Putin said a provocation by whoever enforces it, so that's been denied by NATO and by President Biden. And that means more Ukrainians will die, and their country will be destroyed. Gas prices are up. Food prices are up. We have a food supply chain issue. People are worried, and they should be, but the silver lining, the prices will stabilize in the near future for us, not for the people of Ukraine. Now, I assure you, no one expects you to buy an electric car or get solar panels. That's not going to solve this problem. But this should be the wake-up call that we've been hearing from both sides forever. We need to wean off our dependence on foreign oil. It's not good for us to allow dictators to have this much influence in the world. Did you know the United States is the world's largest oil producer, 12 million barrels a day? The problem is, it's more profitable for oil companies to sell it to countries who need it as opposed to keeping it domestically. And by the way, the graph I'm showing on the screen is fake news. You've probably seen that in a Facebook post this week. It's not true. We consume nearly 19 barrels a day. You see the shortfall. That's part of the reason why we import from the OPEC countries. Matter of fact, we import 55% of our oil, despite the fact that that number could be 33%. So we're forced to import all this oil from all these countries who are major violators of human rights. Just an FYI, the Keystone Pipeline is open. It's producing 200,000 barrels a week. The Keystone XL pipeline, that's the one people think was shut down. That was never built. Don't you remember the Native Americans at Standing Rock a couple years ago? That guy. See, the oil would have been pumped in Alberta, Canada, not the United States. The oil they produce there is called sand oil. It's bad for the environment. The process they use is dangerous and prone to leaks, and it's not used in the making of gasoline. It's not a good fuel. So no, Joe Biden's not that stupid. He hasn't shut down oil production. If you read that on Facebook this week, fake news. No one shut down a pipeline. After a decade of not being able to convince the U.S. government and the courts that it was a solid project, the Keystone XL pipeline was abandoned. The White House also reported this week there are 9,000 drilling permits that are approved, and none of these people are drilling. We live in the disinformation age. If you hear a story about Democrats trying to destroy America or that liberals are pushing their agenda on your kids, it's probably not true, or it's at the least overstating of the truth. I don't believe either side is out to ruin America. They're more concerned with keeping their corporate masters happy. The same people who tend to do really well in times of war. My point is, right now, Democrats and Republicans are working with the Biden administration to figure out the best move forward in Ukraine and here at home. This is going to hurt for the short term, but maybe we can pull through this like we did the pandemic together while pissing and moaning and fighting it all out on social media.
Well done, Joe. I thoroughly enjoyed that.
By the way, this here is my favorite meme. Everybody on Facebook stopped being infectious disease experts and now are super into the foreign relations.
Foreign relation experts, yeah, absolutely. 100%. Hey, Joe, I got a quick question for you.
Yes.
When it comes to the XL pipeline, how many carbon emissions would that take to transport all that oil? How many carbon emissions would it produce transporting all that oil via pipeline? Zero. Okay, good call. Good call.
No,
zero. A pipeline emits zero carbon emissions. All right. What are the amount of the carbon emissions it would take to transport that oil via train, car, truck, plane, boats? Probably a lot more than a pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
So wouldn't a pipeline in all actuality be more green?
Jimmy, if it's just about that, then I don't know. Again, here's what you're suggesting. You're suggesting an entire group of people are pushing low carbon emissions, even though it's worse than that for the environment. Then, I mean, why would anybody do that?
Your president did. You know that, right? During the entire campaign, he declared war, right? He declared war on fossil fuels.
Oh, on fossil
and said
fuel.
We are going to go green, right?
Yes.
The entire
how is saying we're going to go green?
The entire push was going green, getting rid of our dependence on foreign oil, right? That was his big push to get rid of crude oil, of our dependence on oil, and to go green.
We are pumping as much oil as we ever have in the history of the United States.
I'm not saying that. What I am saying is your president, my president, our president declared war on fossil fuels, and you know it.
Let me tell you something.
You know
let me explain.
Hold
on.
No,
first of all, let me tell you what declaring war is. Can I tell you what declaring war is? It's sending troops into Ukraine. Let's be careful with the words that we're using. Declaring war is such a, that's one of the things about that made me stop being a Republican. The war on Christmas, that day when the whole world shuts down and nothing's open. What do you mean war on Christmas?
You mean
because we don't want you to yell Merry Christmas to Jews? Come on.
You kind of mean like calling you a racist if you're just white? even though you don't have to say a word. You're just white,
No
so you're
one's.
a racist and you're
I'm
an
white.
oppressor.
No one's ever called
right?
me a racist because I
What
don't
else?
say or do
What else?
racist
Oh yeah,
things, and I don't support
So
racist policies. It's
mentally
easy.
ill people are now terrorists. People who threaten anybody is now a terrorist. I mean, we can go on about the wordplay all day because they both frickin' do it, right? And I'm saying this as a conservative, as a Republican, that they both sides do it. The Democrats do it and the Republicans do it. Here's the difference. You're not calling no Republican is calling Putin a mentally ill person that needs help. But that's what you guys are saying. That's what the Democrats say when they call people who are mentally ill, like i.e. school shooters, because 99% of every school shooter has been mentally ill on psychotropic drugs, but neither here nor there. But they're mentally ill and they need help. All these social programs that the Democrats want, help, mentally help. So now what you're doing is saying, you know what? We need to help Putin because he's mentally ill, because he's, that's what terrorists are. So don't talk to me about wordplay. The Democrats have equated freaking Putin to a mentally ill person by calling them terrorists. Do you understand what I'm saying? And now you know, the beef that I had before this with you guys calling everybody a freaking terrorist. That was my biggest beef, because now you just equated those people to freaking Putin.
You and I are very much in agreement on, when people talk about who the next Hitler is, or the comparison, Trump's just like Hitler. That is such an idiotic thing to say.
Correct.
It's so beyond the pale of being an analogy that even has any credibility to it at all. I mean, you'd have to wipe out a whole population of people before you're on the level of a Hitler.
Yeah.
Like sending some shitty tweets. That doesn't mean you're Hitler. It means you're a douchebag, but you're not Hitler.
How many years did we hear the left compare Trump to Hitler? For how many years?
For all four. And I'm telling you.
Despicable, because you know what?
I don't like
a year
that.
before he got elected, they were his best friends.
Well, sure. He was their biggest donors.
He was one of their biggest donors a year prior. He gets elected president. Now he's a freaking Hitler. Come on, man. But we heard that for 4 years, Joe. That's my point. The Democrats are so much more, I don't want to say more guilty, but they take it to a different level. They try to take it to a point where we're going to equate normal people with these just, I don't even know, insidious freaking people throughout history, and that you can't do that. You cannot do that. And I said, they both do it.
And do you know why you don't do that, Jimmy? Because then you look at a guy like Vladimir Putin, who aspires to be the next Hitler, and it's like, oh, that's what that looks like. While you were sitting there busy getting pissed off at the guy because he says some stupid shit on Twitter, this other guy who really is that thing.
That's right.
And has been very open about it. And I mean, again, 8 years ago, he did this before. He did this in 2008 during the friggin' Olympics. I remember George Bush having to go on the Olympics with Tom Brokaw.
That's right.
When he invaded Georgia, and he was like, well, listen, you're going to have to get out of there, Putin. And Putin was out the next day. The next day, the withdrawal started in Georgia.
You know what's funny? So we're talking about George Bush. We talked about Trump. And I can remember the two biggest things people said to me when they talked about those two people. They're going to nuke the world. They're going to bomb everybody. They're going to start World War III.
They both did an extraordinary job of keeping us safe from our enemies. As sloppily as the work might have looked on paper, as sloppy as it looked, you can't argue that those were 12 very safe years for Americans.
But you know what? And I think it's because they push so hard. The left-leaning people push so hard that these guys are crazy. These guys are out of their minds. They're gonna nuke you. That people are like, hold on, wait a minute. Maybe they will. Maybe I will back down for these idiots. Maybe they are crazy. That could have helped them. I don't know, right? But here's the point. And I don't want to bring Victoria up because she's not here to defend herself. And I'm not going to bash her, right? But what I am going to say is she Googled it, right? Remember the show that we talked about this and I got really heated? She literally Googled "Are school shooters terrorists?" and it said yes. Right? And she yelled at me, telling me I didn't know what I talked. I don't know. I'm not the expert in terrorism, but Google apparently is, and it compared a mentally ill child to Vladimir Putin. Do you see where I'm going with this, Joe?
Yeah, listen, I understand what you're saying. I do think, again, like to what degree a terrorist must you be before you're a terrorist? I think anybody can be a terrorist. I think there's a difference between, and again, listen, here's the big thing for me. I wouldn't call those people terrorists if they weren't being charged with making terroristic threats. It's literally in the charge. That's why they're referring to it as that. And I don't know if that's a newer thing that they've done or whatever the case may be.
It's wrong, and they're redefining words. So, and it's very easy. Why? It's very easy if you follow the breadcrumbs, right? Oh, you said this? Well, now I can label you as a terrorist. To shut down conversation, to shut down dissenting opinions. This is where there's no other trail that this could lead, Joe. Tell me where other trail by you saying, oh, if you say this or if you do this, now I get to treat you and call you a terrorist. Not somebody who has a strong opinion, not somebody who's standing up for their own selves, but a freaking terrorist. You're shutting down dissent. And that's why the word game is so dangerous. Go.
Well, the word game would be the people who were saying are terrorists are the ones that have taken it beyond beyond just up there and complaining. My kid wants to be able to smile, and the teacher doesn't know what he looks like. And okay, maybe. But when you cross the threshold of you start threatening people's lives, that's not good.
There's actually a charge on the books for that already. It's not
sure.
terrorists.
Listen, I'm with you as far as look. You not for nothing. If the word racism has lost any of its luster, it's because everybody's constantly throwing that word out there.
Agreed.
But that doesn't mean that things that are slightly racist aren't racist. It just means that it's definitely an overused word, but again, the severity, listen, whether it's what do they call them? A microaggression, or if it's a blatant racist attack, it's the same thing. It's both racism. Trying to figure out the degree of these things. Listen, I don't think parents who go in front of school boards are terrorists. I don't. And I would never call them that. And the Biden administration is not calling them that. Again, we're talking about the people that cross the line and are literally threatening bodily harm.
There's already a charge for that, Joe. And
what's the charge? Disorderly conduct?
Assault? Battery?
You have to actually carry it out. It's a threat.
Battery is actually laying hands. Assault is just a threat. Right. And then you can be charged with disturbing the peace. You can be charged with disorderly conduct. You can be charged with a million other freaking things.
Sure.
Before you get charged with terrorism.
Slap on the wrist.
Before you get charged with being, assault.
I think they were trying to make an example of somebody. And
exactly.
There you
go. Exactly, Joe. I'm going to shut down freaking I'm going to shut down dissenting opinions.
No, you're drawing a line. You're just drawing a line in the sand. We're saying you can dissent all you want. There is a line. There didn't need to be one. There didn't need to be a new line. There is a line. The line is when you make a threat. Now you're not. Now you're not a dissenting citizen. Now you're a terrorist making terroristic threats.
You're not a terrorist. You're a citizen who's assaulting another citizen.
You're a domestic terrorist.
Bullshit. There's no such freaking word.
This is a person who works for the government. It's a government person. Yes.
That's made up. Trust me.
It's not made up. You're a government employee. You're literally trying to disturb the functioning of the United States government.
So I can be labeled a domestic terrorist because I disagree and want to say
No!
that? I wonder why they're
No!
going to make up that word. I'm
Jimmy.
going to shut down everybody
Jimmy.
that freaking disagrees with me by calling them a domestic terrorist
Jimmy.
/ terrorist.
Jimmy,
That's a brilliant.
Jimmy,
that's such a brilliant, by
Jimmy.
the way, tolerant view of the Democratic Party.
Jimmy,
So
if
genius.
you and I
Morons.
ever go to some sort of political rally and you start threatening the crowd, no, I just understand I'm going to leave you there. I'm going to just walk away, right?
As you should.
Because that would be insane. Now, if you got up and you started offering a different opinion, I'd be like, go get him, Jimmy. There's a difference. Again, the line is when you start threatening people's lives, now this is a different situation. Again, no one is saying that the people who are dissenting, I've seen a lot of them, and they let the people speak at those meetings, and they're nasty, and a lot of them say things that aren't true, and that's fine. You have a right to speak, and you get your 3 minutes or your minute 50 or whatever. Again, the difference is if you start making threats on people's lives, just like anybody making a threat in any other situation, there's going to be a problem there. You can't make threats. We don't want to encourage parents or anybody to start making threats. Again, dude, you get the allotted time to speak your mind and say your piece. It can be unpleasant, sure, but at the same time, it's not the problem that it would appear to be. Again, what is there? Like one person was charged with making terroristic threats. It's like one person, two people, maybe. Again, this is like a fake. This is a fake outrage situation. You're trying to conflate it to any parent that disagrees with a school board. That's what you guys do. You continue to do it. You're wrong. No one's talking about those people. Stop saying that. Jen Psaki for like 45 minutes one day.
You literally just said anybody who makes a threat is a terrorist. You literally just said that.
I said anybody who makes a threat at a school board is a terrorist. Yes. You're using terroristic methods. You're a terrorist. Why not? So
how am I? I don't understand.
You haven't made terroristic threats, Jimmy.
One person. Well, I'm not. You're saying everybody. You're blanking it to everybody that does one action.
Anybody, yes, right? Jimmy, yes. If you rape one person, you're a rapist. If you murder one person, you're a murderer. If you commit one act of terrorism, do the math. Terrorist.
So threatening people is now terrorism.
If that's what you were charged with, then that's what the crime is. I'm not making up the charge.
You're telling me there's not been a word shift, and you're telling me you haven't freaking bought into it?
It's applied to one or two people, though. Again, you're acting like this is like they're going to start putting us in camps. Oh boy, they're not. They really just didn't.
We're not talking about one or two people, Joe. We're not talking about one or two people.
But we are
talking about you blanketing everybody who makes a threat. That's what I'm talking about.
People who make threats are terrorists. Yes, you're making a terroristic threat. If the threat you're making is I'm going to beat you up, well, no, then you're not a terrorist. If you said I'm going to come to your house tonight, Joe, and I'm going to blow it up while you sleep, I would call the cops and say Jimmy's a terrorist. Yes.
I mean, by all means, you can say that. You're just wrong. I don't know how to tell you this one, Joe. I think the kids call it receipts, right? Nowadays, where you have credentials. Well, I actually have receipts on terrorism, right? Literal paperwork saying that I am certified in knowledge and all this training on terrorism. And you're wrong on this one, Joe. You're wrong.
Jim, whatever the charge you're charged with, if they charge you with domestic terrorism, I don't know what to tell you. It is what maybe. So am I wrong, or is that principle wrong? Because I'm not wrong. I'm right. If the charge is terrorism, you're a terrorist. They don't generally charge non-terrorists with terrorism, just like they don't charge non-murderers with murder.
Because they changed the definition of terrorism. They're changing that word to shut down any freaking dissented home.
They're putting more under the umbrella of terrorism.
That's right. And you shouldn't. And it's wrong because now you're equating a freaking kid, 14-year-old with a mental illness that shot up a school, which is tragic and I wish never happened, to Vladimir fucking Putin, who's trying to eliminate an entire country. There's a huge difference, Joe.
No, there's not. He's the
yes,
worst
there is.
kind.
What is the intent of that
He's
kid?
the worst
What was
kind.
the intent of that kid?
James, anybody who uses the threat of violence to get their way is somebody I think you could call a terrorist. I don't think you need to wear a turban. I don't think you need to be from the Middle East to be a terrorist. I think that anybody
very, very
I'm joking. I think anybody who does terroristic things is a terrorist. Again, are they Osama bin Laden? No. Are they Putin? No. Are they Idi Amin? No. It's a spectrum. It's a wide range of you could be a terrorist.
All right, cool. So we're going to have nice terrorists.
Hold on. You know
what the left likes their spectrum. Have mediocre terrorists. That makes a lot of friggin' sense, doesn't it? Just say those words out loud, Joe. Go ahead.
Jimmy.
A minor, say
Jimmy.
it. No.
Jimmy.
Class A terrorist.
That would be like saying that. Dude,
go ahead.
Listen,
say that stupidity.
Meyer Lansky, Al Capone, like those were mobsters, right? Jimmy Gambino, that was no mobster. Sammy Gravano, that's no mobster. They shouldn't call those guys mobsters. They weren't classy mob guys like back in the 20s and 30s.
Did they run rackets?
Not those swinging nightclubs, where they used to flip the pool table over like in the 20s. Those guys were, see what I'm saying? Dude, if you could because now you could be a low associate in the Gambino crime family, or worse, in one of the crime families in like Milwaukee, like some real low-level street hustler. You're a mobster. You're still a mobster. You're not a kingpin. You're not ordering hits.
You're 100% right.
You're still a mobster.
Right. And because you're part of that mob
there
family,
are degrees.
Right? No,
there are degrees.
You're part of that mob family, right?
Yeah.
So you're in the mob.
Right. But if you're an associate, you're not a made man, so you're technically not part of the family. You're an associate,
but you're still in the family. You're still in
but you're still a mobster.
That's right. You are. Well, I don't.
Even though you're not actually in the mob, you're just an associate of the mob.
They are. If you're a low-level soldier for the mob, you're still in the mob. You're
right,
still
but if you're not a made man, you're not part of the family. And
no.
The
If
word
you're not
is
a made man, you don't get the freaking level of protections that they get. But you're still in the family. Do you understand? Like they're still part of that.
You're protected by the family. You're protected by the family, but you're not technically part of it. It's like Ukraine. It's like Ukraine is part of Europe and kind of wants to be in NATO.
Part of. And what government was he trying to topple? What government was he trying to put in place? What government sanction was he? What government section was he trying to terrorize? I don't understand I don't understand where you're going with the whole mob story. If you're a part of the mob, you're a part of the mob.
Well, that's my point. If you're right, but I'm saying you don't have to be Osama bin Laden to be a terrorist. You don't have to be Timothy McVeigh to be a terrorist. Again, I think anybody who, if we're going to argue about what the threshold of terrorism charges are,
but we need to, and it's important, Joe. This is what I'm saying.
Only like two people have been charged with it. I don't think it's a big issue. I don't think
it's
a big issue.
And I think it's
less important of an issue than transgendered prisoners getting their sex changed on taxpayer dimes. Liz Warren's sweetheart project in 2020. I just, to me, this isn't affecting enough people that it's that much of an issue. And COVID's over. COVID's over, everyone. I don't know if you guys heard. So that's great.
I know. There's not a lot of time to celebrate the past 2 weeks.
What a bummer. What a bummer. We should have take off the mask parties and everything.
Another reason to hate Russia, they ruined our COVID's over party.
We can't even have the end of COVID because of Putin. Thanks.
All right. Well, I think that is all the time we have for this week, guys. I truly, truly appreciate you stopping in, listening, and commenting. Speaking Your Real podcast, I will get you up to speed later. I know you're lost. But thank you very much to you guys. Thank you very much to our sponsors. And for Joe Aguirre, I'm Jim Battisti. We will see you next week.